Welcome to the Basic Bee podcast, a show for the wannabe SEO savvy service providers among us, for the coaches and consultants who dream of becoming known for their storytelling skills, not to mention the solopreneurs who straight up need to master all things social proof to increase sales. After a little reluctantly fully committing to this online world of business, I quickly realized I needed to get people to come to me. I needed to tell them I was here and how I could support them. I dove headfirst into social proof, which led me to SEO, which led me to storytelling. And now it gives me great joy to share what I've learned with other business owners so they skip the hard stuff and ease straight into sales. This podcast gives you expert insights, actionable takeaways, and casual convos with some of the online world's best and brightest experts and strategists. I think that's enough of an intro, so here we go. Welcome back to the Basic Bee podcast. Thank you again, as always, for joining. And of course, I have another amazing human and business owner and SEO strategist to introduce you to. Today, I'm joined by Jamar Diggs, and we are going to be talking about how to optimize your case studies for both your website and YouTube. So if you have a YouTube channel, if you've dreamed of having a YouTube channel, if you have a baby YouTube channel like me, you're going to want to stick around. And before I invite Jamar on, of course, I'm going to give you the quick intro. Jamar Diggs is a YouTube marketing strategist for businesses who want to leverage YouTube to create a low-lift marketing strategy so they can make marketing only 10% of their focus. He takes his corporate marketing experience from working in large marketing departments like Homes.com and ForRent.com to help his clients create a content strategy and marketing system that will generate results for years. Jamar, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. And you may not feel so excited after I drop this question on you.
Oh, gosh.
But I'm going to ask, it's a heavy one, but at the same time, there's no wrong answer. So you cannot screw this up. Okay.
Okay.
Which do you believe is the most important for sales? SEO, storytelling, or social proof?
For sales.
For sales.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so torn.
Between what?
So I would say if we're just being general, like I do think all three are important, but if we're just talking about the sell, like the actual thing that gets the person to give you the money, I would say I'm torn between storytelling and social proof, but I would probably lean more into storytelling because you get more context around the issue that whatever this person was going through and the transformation that they got. And so it solidifies that decision that the viewer is in the right place. You can help them with that thing. And it makes them a little bit more secure to give you their money because they just saw themselves in a story that you have given them. Versus social proof, depending on the social proof it is, right? It may not tell the whole story that relates to that person exactly, like what they're looking for.
Very true. I love it. Oh my gosh. Perfect answer. You passed.
Thank you.
Okay, so this topic of optimizing case studies on your site and on YouTube came up because I was seeing what you were posting on Threads. I love Threads. I've had so many podcast guests thanks to Threads, and I've gotten to know so many incredible business owners and service providers. So I was seeing what you were posting, and selfishly, I was like, I wonder if Jamar would be willing to talk about how to optimize things on YouTube. Because again, truly, I have a baby YouTube channel, and I'm like, I think I know what I'm doing. I feel like I know enough, but also getting that confirmation is also really amazing. So I reached out to see if you'd be open to like a back and forth dialogue about how we can optimize in these two different places. So with that being said, you recently created a bunch of written case studies, and I would love to hear, what did you find easy about creating them, and what did you find challenging? What do you love about them? Like, feel free to share whatever.
Okay. So I think the easiest part of creating them was the social proof part. And the only reason why this part was the most easiest for me, which I think that this is probably the maybe hard for other people, but like I am a screenshot hoe. Okay. I will screenshot anything. Like the only thing that I wish that I did in my journey of this, normally when a client will offboard with me, I would just be screenshotting all the work that we did, right? I'm in that platform and I'm like, oh my God, let me check inside your Google Analytics. Let me see that too. Because we get access to all of those things, right? And we also send them visual reports anyway. So it's kind of like tracked a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
But the one thing that past Jamar did not do was get the before and the after. But honestly, I've gotten the after, and the only benefit that I got was like, most of my clients that I worked with, we were starting their channels from scratch anyway, or they had like one other video up on their channel. So it was kind of like, girl, we did all the work, right? So it was kind of, it's like,
you were at the before.
we were at the before. Okay. And so it was very easy to capture that. Right. And so it was very nice to basically kind of walk through the approach. And I was like, this person like struggled with this, but like, this is what they did. This was the problem. This is how we approached it. And this was the result. And then once I figured out like that kind of structure, I was kind of able to rinse and repeat. But like, I decided to add in certain elements. And I think in my head, I was like, I thought about, as I was doing the case studies, right, the people that I had in my arsenal, right, in my screenshot library and folders in Google Drive, I uncovered the main stories that I wanted to get, right? It wasn't just like, oh, we did this work for this person. That's what that was. As I was doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, we actually focused on like building their email list on this one. Oh my God, we actually focused on growing the channel, or each client had like a different goal in mind. And it was so funny because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to highlight it that way. Passive products, growing the email list, generating sales, getting conversions from YouTube. And so I was able to find those stories. And so when someone was looking at it from the outside, they'll be like, okay, can Jamar help me with this? And I'm like, sure can. Here's how we help Asia. Here's how we help Sarah. Here's how we help Carrie do this exact same thing. Here's a story, and here are the results, and here's what she has to say about it. Yeah, that was like the really like easy part, or like maybe not easy, but it was like a very nice discovery that I had throughout this whole process that now makes it easier for me to kind of just replicate.
Yeah, you kind of hinted at it, but how do you find yourself using the case studies now that you have them?
Oh, now whenever I do a sales post on Instagram or Threads or whatever, I link a link to all of my case studies right there. I'm like, don't ask me no questions in the DMs. Yes, I can help you. Here are the case studies. They always want one or three things anyway. And I just so happily highlighted all the three ways that YouTube can help you. So I was like, here's a case study about each and every one of those things. I am open to DM conversations, but it's so nice to like, don't just take my word for it. Here are like the actual like proof, of like how we actually did it in the process. There's no questions around, well, how does this work? Or what did you do? It's like, no, the approach is all in there. You know what I'm saying? So I use it that way. I also have started to, and I just recently introduced, because as you know, I recently, maybe like the past, 30 days or so, launched the case studies that I have. And so I have recently introduced it into like my sales process. And so, because remember how I said that like the stories are kind of like the converting factor, I think, to just get people to just be like, oh yeah, I already know that you can help me. Let's go ahead and like, close the deal. Whenever someone books a sales call with me, the next email that goes out is kind of like almost like a how to prepare for the sales call type of email, but it's really just like, this is what you can expect. And then also, here's a recap of my services, I link here. And then also here are some client success stories that you could look through to kind of get an idea of how we help people. And I've been able to do that. And so I really just use it to reinforce my authority and how I can help people. Because throughout this whole process, right, whenever someone is buying something, there's always going to be objections that come up internally. And so I've been able to use the case studies to kind of combat those objections before they even get to me.
Bingo. I love all of this. So you brought up so many different amazing points that I could go down like 15 different rabbit holes. One thing I do want to bring up or highlight is that you were talking about the different focuses that you had for each case study. And I love that you're a screenshot whore, because same. working. And they might not always be as organized as I want them to be, but they are there.
They are
And
there.
that's actually how I wrote my very first case study, which was for myself and about one of my clients that I worked with. And so I totally understand that. I totally love that. But when you focus on, or at least I think the brilliance of when you focus on these different problems that you're helping people solve, is that you have these like, oh, here's the objection that's going to come up, or, oh, so-and-so wants to know about this specific, like, amazing result that they'll get. Here, read this, check this out. And it's such an easy thing. I know that you're open to DMs, but it is such an easy thing to a time saver. It lifts the weight of the burden of doing the quote unquote convincing or the selling. And you're just able to say, here, it's over here. Just check this out. And if you read that and you have questions, let me know.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I love about it. Because that's my entire YouTube strategy anyway, right? I am such a big fan of client-led sales. Everything that I do is to help the viewer, the potential buyer, customer, whatever, to make a confident and educated buying decision, right?
Exactly.
And so why spend so much time on a sales call trying to fire hose them with all the details that they could possibly imagine for them to just sit and be overwhelmed? That isn't a good use of a sales call. That isn't a good use of anyone's time, right? Because of course, there's going to be so many other things that come up that people are going to think about, right? Even in my own YouTube strategy, we have a whole process that we take people through because of the psychological thinking that happens when someone goes from the unaware, problem aware to solution aware. Like there's all these things that happen throughout this whole customer buying journey. And we want to make sure that they can take care of that on their own and they can build their confidence and they can know that they're talking to you because they really want to work with you.
What if you had an easy way to bust objections you commonly hear? Well, case studies can be that thing for you. Recently, my case study client, Brenna, shared she had her biggest launch ever, and she largely credits case studies for that launch success. Each time she heard an objection from a potential student, she was able to simply point them to the case study. She let her students do the talking and the objection busting. I mean, what could be easier than that? Maybe hiring me for a done-for-you case study is an option that's just not on the table right now. Cool. You might be interested in my case study training program. It's specifically designed for solopreneurs, service providers who are wearing all the hats and just need to know what to do and exactly how to do it, so they have a case study on their site they can be proud of and point people to, just like Brenna did. Doors open April 22nd, and we officially kick things off on April 29th. All the info is below. Exactly. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, so with having this idea of, okay, I've got this case study about so-and-so, and I want to highlight this point, from there going into keyword research, it makes it easier because then you're able to, you have your focus. It's been given to you, and then you know what keywords to do around that. So let's get into the optimization. And how we're going to do this is there will be a question, Jamar's going to answer it, and then I'll share my answer, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of overlap, more than likely, between how you optimize for YouTube videos and how you optimize for, let's just say, we'll keep it really simple and say we're going to optimize for blog posts on your website. Yeah. So the first question that I have, I prepared in advance, is what is your advice about keyword research, specifically when it comes to YouTube? And do you have any maybe favorite tools that you like using?
Yes. So I love using vidIQ for keyword research. I think it's very, very user friendly. I know you know all about TubeBuddy. I love that too. Mm-hmm. As I was going through my own YouTube journey, I started out with TubeBuddy. Loved it. So great, but then when I had the agency, I switched over to vidIQ, really, I think because of how my brain was needed to work. I was switching between so many client niches and stuff, and vidIQ has a actual web interface, right? That isn't a Chrome extension or whatever. So when I had to focus on keyword research, I could focus on that and not just be on YouTube typing in shit inside the Chrome extension or what, I just needed to focus, right? And then that was really the main reason why. But then as I, dug deeper, it's really, really robust and it does most of the same things that TubeBuddy does. But the way that I talk about it is I think TubeBuddy is really great for like established channels because they have so many tools for like bulk tools, A/B testing, you know what I'm saying? But if you ain't got no damn channel, you don't need those things yet, you know? So I always am like, you know, have both or just start out with one and then grow to the other or whatever. Right. But both of these tools work. So if you have one of them, it's okay.
We're going to be okay, friends.
You're going to be just fine. So don't like run over to vidIQ because I'm like, I love it. You know, if you have TubeBuddy, just stay with TubeBuddy. But basically, what I like to do when it comes to keyword research is I focus on what I want to get out of this, right? So I go in with a plan. And so when it comes with doing these case studies, right? So for example, I already knew that I had like these stories, these themes that I wanted to hit on, right? Like doubling your email list. And so what I would do is I would search for that, right? Like, so that outcome is what people want, right? And so I may have started with like, how to use YouTube to grow your email list. And that starts the search, right? Right. And then I go and I have a few factors that I use to determine if like this keyword is the thing that I'm going to use. And like we use like for vidIQ, it's like a overview where it's like a metric that's like between like 0 and 100. And so I kind of like, if it's around like 60 or something, if it's in the green, I'm in. Right. And so I basically take that keyword to where if it was like YouTube for email list growth or something like that, right? I would say that's going to be my keyword. And, but I think what people get messed up with is they go a little bit too deep. Once you find your keyword, get the hell out of Dodge. You know what I'm saying? Get out of there. You have got to go.
Have you been looking over my shoulder? I did that at first and then I was like, oh, I don't need to go and do that.
Yes, no, it's like, you know, once you find one that fits with what you want to say, because keep in mind that as long as you have that primary keyword, that's what I call it, is like your primary keyword, and you create a title with that primary keyword, you are okay. At least when it comes to YouTube, I like to tell people that like YouTube keyword research is not that serious as the website, blog posts, SEO. Like y'all girls be intense over
We're
there.
extra, okay?
Y'all
we
are so
extra.
intense over there. And if you're freaking me out, then say, no, I'm kidding. Like for YouTube, it's like, do your keyword research, you search, and then you get to play with the title, right? As long as you have that primary keyword in it, then you get to play around with it, right? And so when it comes to like a case study title, I am trying to figure out, you know, there's so many ways to where it's like, how can I make this title stand out? How can I make it engaging while still including that actual primary keyword in there? So instead of it being like, how to use YouTube to double your email list, I may say how we helped Sarah add 700 more email subscribers to her email list with YouTube, or so, I don't know, something like that. I'm just on the spot right now, but like,
I know you are. You're being brave.
But it would have been something like that. Like, it would have been like, oh, it's all of these emotional things to where it's like, oh my God, I put a number in there. Like, even if I said like, I Forex someone's email list or, you know, whatever that may be, with YouTube, I have included those keywords in that YouTube title. Hopefully that's helpful. That's kind of how I go throughout like creating that title and doing that kind of keyword research for it.
That is such a relief to hear that YouTube SEO and keyword research is so much more simple than stuff for your website and blogs. Like, it's a huge relief to hear that. So what I recommend doing for keyword research, it's, as I'm hinting at, a little bit more in depth, just a little bit. But if we're thinking of, I love that you call it a primary keyword. I call it a target or a focus keyword, but it's the same concept, that it's like the one main idea that you are orienting this whole thing around. So talk about tools. I like using Ubersuggest, which is a free Chrome extension. They do have the paid version, but if you're not planning on being like me and Jamar, like, you don't need to buy it. Just go with the free one. Yes, you have a cap. You have a limit of how many searches you can do, but it's plenty. And if you really, again, want it to be extra, you could spend like 2 or 3 days doing keyword research and just spending like 30 minutes of time or 20 minutes of time each day. But Ubersuggest, I love it. I'll make sure you've got a link to all of the things that we're talking about. And I like using just the Google results page, the search results page. There's a lot of stuff that we can pay attention to on there. Let me back up a little bit, because I love that you talked about using screenshots. I like using client quotes, whether that comes from like an interview video or a Voxer conversation or some email back and forth, messages. I love using what clients actually say. And it sounds like you're doing the same thing where it's like, okay, this is how they're phrasing it. Let me take that and then go into using that as a starting point for keyword research. So, make a list of maybe like 5 things or something like that. And then I'll start typing them in Google, hit enter, and Ubersuggest for me is already loaded. So it's going to give me the search volume to the right, which if you use it, you'll see that. So when it comes to search volume, all that means is on average each month, how many people are going in and typing something like that keyword to get at the pages and the results that you hopefully maybe want to end up on. So keep that search volume. This is my biggest tip, at least between 0 to 1,000. If you go over 1,000, you're going to end up being a small fish in a big pond and you're going to get buried on page 8. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for any of us. So keep it like 0 to 1,000. It's even better, more ideal if you end up in that 0 to 100 search volume range, which feels really small. And people are like, really? I don't want to go bigger. Bigger is not better here. This is not one of those situations. I do not want you to do that. Maybe even aim for going smaller, lower, whatever. So that's what we want to focus on there. Now, I usually, when I'm creating my SEO strategy sheets, whether it's for myself for a blog or something, or I'm doing this for a client, I usually have 1 to 2 target keywords and then about 5 what I call similar, supportive, or synonymous keywords. And that just enables you to use a variety of words, because if you use the same one over and over again, they're going to consider that keyword stuffing, and that's a no-no. So we don't want to do that either. But, we're going to get into the specific places we can use keyword research, but definitely take these tips, keep it simple, set timers for yourself. That was my biggest thing that I needed to do, because your girl could go down so many rabbit holes. So many rabbit holes.
Let me tell you, I've been lost before, but I've learned to say, get out of there. Mostly when I started having to teach other people about this thing, because how I have this membership now, and they're like, I'm just so torn between this keyword. I said, girl, choose a keyword and move on.
Click one and go.
Just and I realized, you're getting stuck in the vortex. But me, I'm good enough to be I'm good. Cause I know that at the end of the day, I'm just splitting hairs.
Yeah.
But with a member, they're probably like, oh my God, it's it's so much more intense for them because they don't know as much as we know. And so I had to kind of say that now. So I've been saying once you find it, run away. Get an ice cream because you did it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to do that now. I'm going to be like, excuse me, I need to go reward myself. I'll see you in about 20 minutes. But yeah, truly, I had to do the same thing when I created the email courses, especially the one around blogging with SEO. Keyword research is one of the first things that we do. So I'm like, set a timer. Do not deviate from the timer. I promise you it's more than enough time. And yeah, like you said, you and I have these internal buzzers that are okay, we're done. We've reached it. You have found your solution. Walk away. But yeah, set a timer, walk away, just pick one and go with it. Whenever you found that thing, just move on. Which brings me to my next question, which is, what is an obvious place that we would want to include this keyword in our YouTube channel on a post?
Yeah. So I typically, in the video description and the tags area. So this is my thing. I know there's a ton of videos, and YouTube probably also said tags don't matter. And I'm okay, fine. But the way that I specifically use tags is a little bit different, because just how you said before, how you find also on these secondary keywords, that's what I do. And so basically another little layer is, once I find the primary keyword, any other keywords that I'm oh my God, this could work too, or this could work too. I'm okay, we're saving that for the secondary keywords. These are now tags, right? And then what I do is I kind of use the tags section inside of YouTube as a little placeholder for relevant keywords, right? Regardless of if it doesn't work or not, the way that we're going to use it is strategic, because then we're going to take those same tags and we're going to integrate them into the video description of YouTube. So similar to a blog post, right? I mean, we're not structuring it like the H1s and H2s and things like that. But what I like to do is I like to include the primary keyword in the first 2 sentences, or the first couple character, like maybe 200 characters of the YouTube video description. And I like to have it be like a hook. I like it to be something like almost like an excerpt on a blog post, but I want it to complement the thumbnail, the title, because they see all that in the search result, right? So they see that meta description, right? Like that you probably see up on like a blog post. And so I want it to kind of work all together, but also include the same primary keyword. For the secondary keywords, I create like another paragraph of a description of the video and what they will learn while using those other secondary tags that I found.
I like that so much. And also, you're making me think of something I like sharing with often, which is that we're just making educated guesses over here. Strategic, smart, thought out, intentional guesses, but it's still guessing at the end of the day. And we're like, here's our hypothesis. Here you go, internet.
Yes.
Help us.
Yes. Every time I feel like, hopefully people don't think less of me when I say this, but like they're strategic guesses, right? Because of my experience, because of how long I've been doing this, I am more likely to make the right decision than someone who hasn't. Okay. But also whenever I publish a YouTube video and I do all of this work and all of the things are working, I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. I'm magical. Like I get excited for my own stuff, right? I get excited for my own client stuff to where I'm like, oh my God, look at that video go off. I'm like, oh my God, I did it right. Or like, even I'm just like so excited. And so I never lose that. I'm never like, of course it did. I know what I'm doing. It's always like, because with everything, like us as like strategists, sometimes you may have to tweak things. You may have to test things, right? And so when you hit something and you don't have to do any of that stuff, you're like, oh my God, I did it right. You're so excited.
Yeah, you really are. I love this. I feel like so much less like a goofball because I do the same thing. So an obvious place with blog type case studies, written case studies that I like to use the keywords is your H1 heading. So for the record, if you're like, what in the holy goodness is an H1 heading? If you go to anybody's website, you go to any blog post, you go to any web page on their website, they should have like the giant heading, the big letters that's at the top of the page typically. That's your H1 heading. Every page needs one, and every page can only have one. So I made this mistake because I thought they were real cute and pretty at the beginning of having a website where I was like, here's like 5 different H1s. And I was confusing the bejesus out of Google, as well as probably the people reading it because they were very large, right? Big font. So please, for the sake of all of us, learn from my lesson and just put one H1 on every single web page, and only. Like everyone needs one, but only one. They're really territorial. That really helps me to think about it like that. I love that you're laughing so much because I was like, it's so pretty. We're just gonna do a bunch.
Oh my gosh. Let's just have a little tea time for a quick second. I was in a workshop about, it was either blogging or images or image SEO. It was something, I don't know. I was in this workshop and this person in the workshop was arguing with the facilitator because she was saying, just like how you're saying, one H1, the rest needs to be the H2, the H3, whatever. And the lady was like, what do you mean? So you're saying that I just need to have these small text things throughout and I'm like, ma'am, and I'm just thinking like, you can change the font size and the design.
Yep.
It's just so funny. But she was very rude and argumentative about it. Like she was so right. She hasn't made it on the other side yet.
No,
Brittany.
she hasn't. We're not there yet. Bless her heart, as we say in the South.
Yes.
No, oh my gosh, that's wild. Definitely, like you said, make use of those the H2, H3 headlines. They do go on to like H4, H5, H6, but you will rarely hear me talk about those because most people just keep it H1, 2, and 3. But for this H1, hot tip for you here is to keep it about 60 characters long. And you'll notice, like I've got some examples pulled up that I'm going to read to you for H1 headings, but you'll notice that I haven't always stuck to this, but the last 9 months or so, I'm like, oh goodness, I need to keep it 60 characters because with starting this podcast and with having the YouTube channel, here's what I've realized. If I keep it in that 60 character window, I can repurpose it. I can use that title for the H1 for something called your SEO title, which shows up on that search results page. And I'll link to that episode where I go in depth with that SEO titles and meta description. But you can use it as your H1, your SEO title, your probably, I'm assuming, your YouTube title, video title. Again, fact checking and like making sure that you've got the right keywords over there, as well as like your podcast episode. So there are multiple places that you could use this brilliant line, or if you even workshop, brainstorm a few brilliant lines, you can use it in strategic places. So I've got a handful of case studies. Some are live on the internet, some are not. So I'll link to the ones that I can, but here are a few H1 headlines just to kind of like get your brain going, your brain juices flowing, if you will. Daryl got 16 plus hours of his life back each month when he hired the best producer for the Mind Shift podcast, Leah Bryant. And then here's another one. When Liz joined my business coaching program for coaches, she learned to be brave online and tripled her revenue. Got a couple more. From corporate burnout to career coaching bliss with the Hive. All right, and final one. How Angela made $32,000 with a $1,300 ad spend in less than 8 weeks without posting on social media. So again, you'll notice that some of them are long, but and many of them do include numbers, which is definitely eye-catching, and it gets the reader to go, tell me more. Click, I want to read and see what happened over here. But that is such a prime spot to use your keywords. So obviously, YouTube video titles, your H1 heading on a blog post. Now, what's a secret spot that we could be including keywords on YouTube? Something that maybe we don't think about.
It will be the...
So formal.
So when I say this, I don't want you to like go back and start stuffing the fuck out of it. You guys, like, chill out when I say this.
Perch up.
But it is going to be your closed captions. It's your subtitles, your closed captions. And so what I like to do is when I'm filming, say your primary keyword naturally, organically. Don't just, just don't be like going crazy, but, and then also don't just like type it in your closed captions just like a million times. Like, don't do shit like that. That shit is wild.
I'm sure someone would do that. I'm just laughing because I'm sure.
I'm like imagining people who are using this for accessibility being like, what are all these keywords? What are all these commas and what is happening?
Yes.
Because I'm also like, I play like movies and shows with closed captions just because like I need to see the words and the mouth. I don't know. And so sometimes my YouTube videos have it already on. And there was one time where I saw someone have all of these keywords in the closed caption, and it was wild. But the best way to do this is for YouTube, naturally say it throughout your YouTube video. Also, I really loved it to upload a clean transcript to YouTube. So what I like to do is I use a tool like Descript or Rev, and they give me a transcript already. And I look through, I kind of, if I need to clean it up with like Descript because it's automatic. With Rev, I never had to do anything, but you pay a little bit more for that. And I add it inside of the subtitle section, and I press this little button that says auto sync. And then you literally just copy your transcript text and paste it into that field, and YouTube will automatically sync the words to what you're saying in the video, and you're good to go.
Oh, amazing.
And so that's like another way to do it. Another secret way that you can use keywords is in your chapters. So think of chapters as your H2s and H3s, right? Mm-hmm. So these are timestamps that can also like be seen in either Google search or YouTube search. Like there are times where what I have seen before is if you're searching for something and the keyword is in the chapter, like in the timestamp, they will highlight that and take you to that specific part inside the video as well. So yeah, do that.
Do that. The end. No, I love that. And I love hearing that because I do that when I create blogs from the podcast episodes. I always include the transcript, and I always let people know it's unedited because I had a really long conversation with my friend Erin Perkins, who's actually going to come on the show, and she talks all about accessibility. And I was like, I don't have the time at this moment, but I don't want to not include a transcript. And she was like, just let people know that it's unedited and include it. So that's what I've done with my blogs. So I definitely have done that I have the podcast rolling into YouTube. So it's just like the audio that's playing, and then it's got like the visual, the podcast cover art. And so I've got that going, but I do have other videos that I intend, like this one, to upload to YouTube. And so hearing how to use that transcript is really incredible. So thank you for sharing that, because that was going to be my follow-up question. I was like, how do I do it? Where do I put
Of course. Look, yes. Well, yeah, it's very, very easy. It's very simple. It takes you only a few seconds. And if you use Descript or Riverside, literally, copy and paste whatever they have, or you can even edit it a little bit. Just make sure like the names are right. If there's a certain things that you probably say like weird, like for me, I say ideal client weird. So every AI is like, what idle? What is idle? And I'm just like, oh, I hate my mouth. But and then I kind of just throw it in there, and it's sometimes closer than what YouTube gets.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. Okay, I'm definitely making use of that. So a lesser known area to use keywords, and I'm actually going to do a whole tutorial about this because it's starting to drive me in the most loving way, absolutely bananas, is images. Optimize your image titles, and you could do this for the thumbnail on YouTube. That's like,
oh, I forgot that too. Yes, the thumbnail. Sorry.
I was going to say that's the one thing I knew.
The thumbnail and changing the file name to the cue.
Right, the video.
The file name of the video. Yeah. Sorry.
No.
Wasn't trying to gatekeep. I just forgot.
There's a lot.
I naturally do it each time. So I just forgot.
You're good.
There you go.
I was going to say, that's like the one thing that I knew to do. So that was like my tiny badge of honor. No, but definitely, yeah, the video name and then the thumbnail image. And you can do this with blogs. And you could even repurpose the same image title names, probably. So, or at least have something kind of similar. Anyway, the point is, title your image using keywords, and do that while it's still on your desktop, laptop, whatever, before you pull it into YouTube, before you pull it into your blog. You want to retitle it at that point. A good rule of thumb, and I don't always stick to this, it's just like a place so you can get started, is having image names be about 3 to 5 keywords long, 3 to 5 words long. But again, it might be 7 or 9. That's okay. We don't want something that's like 30 words long. And also, we don't want it to be one mashup of a word. It needs to be like Brittany Herzberg the basic B podcast with all the dashes in there. So we don't want to like just smush the words. We want them to be separated with the dashes. No periods, no spaces, only dashes. Okay, I think I've drilled that home well enough, but like you need to do that. And the reason it's been driving me nuts is because when I have guests come on the podcast, I love everyone, but I get a lot of these like IMG 35829 or like red headshot or like headshot copy number 4 or something like that. And I'm like, that's amazing, but who are you?
I literally do that whenever I send in my headshots. They have no image SEO on them at all. I'm like, they're straight from the photographer. Here, take it.
Use it. That's in meanwhile.
Which is so true. It's like, why didn't I should totally fix that.
It's okay. I'll send you the podcast episode. I'll be like, here you go, Jamar.
Thank you.
It's a small thing, but it can have like really great impact for you, because maybe someone ends up taking you from a podcast guest to being a case study and they want to like repurpose. Anyway, it's a smart thing to do for yourself. So just, keep that in mind, and I'll make sure I link to that when I do this tutorial. And I will say, like, if you already have a blog and let's say you have like 20 blog posts out there and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go retitle these images on the computer and then pull them back. Don't worry about it. Don't make that a big thing. If you want to carve out time in the future, cool. But just use this as a best practice moving forward. It's not the end of the world. The cool thing is images are like the second most popular way to search when you're on a Google search page. So if you do whatever, type in the thing that you're looking for and you go and you see the articles, that's typically where people go. The second option is very often, the images. And then of course, videos are showing up there and things like that. But this is a great thing to do for all images, and include alt text. That's like the second thing that you can do on your images. The alt text you include once it is in your blog, once it's on your website. And this goes for all images, headshots, lifestyle photos, graphics, screenshots, like all of the things we want. I'm saying that for me and you, Jamar. We want to be optimizing that as well. And it's not just for those who have some visual disability. It's also a great opportunity for you to put the keywords in and be found via image searches. So it's great both ways, but you don't just want to like list out like 10 different keywords in the alt text, because again, we're going to confuse our friends who actually need the alt text to be able to understand what's going on in the image. Another thing that you can do is links. Make sure you're linking all kinds of different things in case studies, especially when they're written. I'm sure we can do this on YouTube too in the description. I do that over there. But I make sure to point this out because it's the complete opposite of a sales page. So people so often want to write a sales page where it's like you have one of two options, you're in or you're out. And we want to do the complete opposite with a case study. The way I look at these marketing pieces really is as a way for people to like touch, feel, smell, taste what it's like to work with you, like really experience it and give them the try before you buy scenario. Like let them walk through, as you were mentioning earlier, get to know your clients, get to know you, get to know your framework, the process, the possible benefits and results that they could get. So if you can link to the work that you've done, amazing. Please do that. That's something that I try to do, but it's not always possible because sometimes we need to leave case studies anonymous or we can't link to them because of NDA or something like that. So if you can link to the work that you've done, whatever that may be, like for Jamar, it's going to be the YouTube strategy sessions that you've done with people. You could more than likely link out to their channels, and I'm sure you did in the case studies. And like, that's such an amazing thing because it's like, I did this work. Look, you can go check it out. It's over here. Like, go look at it. At the very least, link to their website if you can. Again, I understand that there's times where there's NDAs in place or you have to just like leave people anonymous or use an alias or something like that. But if we can link to them, that is going to kick it up a notch and take it to the next level for people. So yeah, I think we covered quite a bit. We spilled lots of tea, but we didn't spill like all of it. And simply just because we would be here for like a solid week being like, do this on YouTube, do this on your blog.
Yes, no, for real. Oh, I also want to say, and this may be a hot take, but let me tell you, even if you had to fire the client, but you did some bomb ass work, make that damn case study. You have earned that. That is your pain and suffering, honey. Like, don't be afraid. Like, you know, like you can, there's so many ways for you to leverage that. And this may be a hot take. So Brittany, I could totally.
No, I love this.
You don't have to include this if you don't want to include this, but
I'm including this.
But even like, there's so many ways for you to do this. Like, even if you had a client that like y'all kind of parted ways because it was like some kind of whatever. But you did like some really, really good work. Feel free to share that work, right? Because you did it. And there's a few ways that you could do this, right? You could include the client's stuff, you know, just like how you did with any other case study. And that's fine, right? Or you could make it anonymous. Like you could like take out certain elements, you know, and just have it just be like, this is what you did without like showing like the client's name or anything like that. And it could just live publicly, or you could just, if they really have shook you to your core, just hide the page and just use it in your like sales processes, right? To where it's like not just public facing. It may just be like a link or something that you share with someone in your sales process or in your email list when someone is like really, really in that hot stage, right? So where there isn't that much like time frame for, this sounds so weird, where it's not like they're like in the stage where they're like, let me read all the case studies and let me DM every single person in this thing and see how, no, it's like you've had those case studies, they've seen those, but maybe these are the ones to where you're like, let's just seal the deal a little bit and just use that one just like if it's like really, really good, because like it must have been really good for you to really want to use it, you know, then just use that one where it's like at the end of the road, you just kind of there to just kind of close the deal, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I would do it. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And I really like that you brought that up because another type of case study that I like to mention is like those failure case studies. So maybe you even feel like something like this falls under a failure case study. I have one with my friend Ashley, and I'm laughing because I'm going to bring her on, but there was this epic fail and it helped me solidify an extra step in my process. So now my future clients and I have been able to benefit from this, even though at the time, Ashley and I were both like, oh shit, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? It was this moment of panic, but I don't believe that anything is really a failure. I feel like there's always some kind of lesson or something in there that we need to know. And for me, it was like, I need to have like this extra step. And so I put the extra step in there and now things are groovy. So yeah, I love that you mentioned that. Okay. You have given us so much. I feel like I have so many amazing things that you have both validated and inspired me to include with future YouTube videos. And where can people connect with you? Tell them about Threads, of course, and your YouTube channel.
Yes. If you want to connect with me more in real time, please follow me up on Threads. I feel like I am so unhinged over there, but in the best way, you know. Yes. It's so great. It's like Twitter didn't work for me because I felt like I was just talking to a void, but somehow with that Threads algorithm, the engagement is up over there. Okay. It's up and it's stuck over there. And on Instagram, and then also follow me up on YouTube. All of those platforms, you can find me at Jamar Diggs.
Amazing. Thank you so much, friend. Thank you for giving all of your wisdom and for just being so enthusiastic about a subject that I am super passionate about.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thank you for like having me on and letting me like nerd out about this thing. Like I've been wanting to do this and I said that I would add this into the podcast, but I never said it. But case studies has been the thing that I've been wanting to do for so long because really when I was in the agency and I was managing YouTube channels, that was like one of the main things that people would ask for. And I was like, I don't have it. You want to be a part of this or not? I mean, with better or worse, I would be like, sorry, I don't have any case studies. This agency is very new. I'm working with clients. If you have any questions, I'll give you a client's name and they can talk about their experience. It was just more like, girl, here's some clients I worked with. If you want to talk to them, talk to them. And it was like, I was like, I cannot be bothered right now. I'm stressing out serving these damn clients. So I didn't have time to actually make a piece of work. And now that I have transitioned a little bit to primarily solo consulting, it's been so crucial that I tell these stories or that I show this work, right? And I also had time to do it, as I was doing this transition. And it has been so beneficial for my business. I've been able to like convert clients just from them reading the case studies. And they're like, okay, I'm great. I'll pay in full. I'm like, great. I'm like, damn, I should have did this earlier. I'm like,
I know.
This has been so great to like nerd out with you and like also explain like how I'm going to be using it for my YouTube channel, because best believe the YouTube videos are also going to be embedded into the case study article as well, because I feel like I'm going to bring a different type of perspective with it being in video form as well, and oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm adding in so many other things that I'm going to do. But when I'm using YouTube videos, some of these, they're going to be a solo, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll be like me explaining the process. I get to dig deep. It's for the people who want to know more about the process, how to work with someone, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to dig deep into that, maybe give a little bit more perspective. But then for some of these, there's like a client in particular that I'm going to also interview her, and I'm going to take snippets of the interview and make it kind of be another piece of work to where we see the case study, but then we also hear from the clients, like, more than just like that little paragraph that she gave me. It's going to be more of like her perspective around everything. And it's going to be really cool. So there's going to be like 2 types of case study videos up on my YouTube channel that are going to complement the written form of the case study as well. And so I'm really, really excited to like work on that as well. The articles were the first step just to get it out of my head and onto paper. And then I'm going to be weaving it into my YouTube content strategy.
I love that. I'm taking actually the opposite approach because like you were saying, like short on time, serving clients, and I love doing that. And that means that so far I only have one written case study, and that's the very first one that I wrote. And it's not my best work. I've learned and improved and perfected so many things, but yet I'm not going to go change it because I want to be able to see, and I want my clients to be able to say, look, this is how I've evolved. Like, this is what you're getting now, because my prices are going to increase along with my skills and all of that. So I'm doing this like from a slightly different approach with having this podcast. I was like, oh yeah, duh. I definitely want to have my clients come on and my students come on who've gone through the case study training program and have them like talk about their experience from whichever angle they're coming in through. And that's been really great because I'm taking the podcast episode, I'm linking to things in those show notes, taking that, turning it into a blog, linking to things in there. And then the third step is going to be actually creating the nicely written case study using their testimonial quotes and including the YouTube video. And I know, right? So I'm so excited for both of us. And if you ever have anything that you want me to make sure that I include, for links or things in the podcast, just let me know because I would love to do that.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. And I will catch you next time. That was really something, wasn't it? Let that really sink in and guide you toward being the answer to even more Googled questions. Thanks so much for joining me this episode. You are the reason this show exists and that it keeps growing. Thanks to all those follows and reviews. If you know someone who could benefit from what was shared, send it to them. We don't do shy around here. If you thought of clarifying or follow-up questions while listening, you know what to do. Say hi on Instagram. Check the show notes for all the things that were mentioned, and I'll talk to you soon, friend. Looking for an introvert-friendly way to sell, or even just want to stop feeling so salesy? I've got just the thing for you. Case studies. Yeah, I know. I talk about them all the time, but there's a good reason for it. Case studies are the ultimate marketing resource for introverts and service providers. There's no better way to show someone the exact experience they could have working with you. They get to see themselves reflected in the story they're reading. They start to feel more connected to you and your approach, and they see the results that are possible for them too. There's absolutely no salesy feelings anywhere near case studies. You can get my exact step-by-step process, all sorts of resources, checklists, templates, video trainings, live calls with me, and so much more inside my case study training program for solopreneurs. Doors open April 22nd, and we officially kick things off on April 29th. Click the link below for all the details.